All right, what's going on, guys? How are you? A little behind the scenes at Magnolia Coffee Company. So we got Ben here that's going to show us a little bit about how to brew. How to
brew a small batch coffee.
Okay.
This is a little brewing device called the Clever. It's a very easy, super simple way to brew coffee.
Okay.
It takes regular number 4 Melita filters, which are available at your grocery store for like $2 for 100 of them. So anybody can get them.
Yep.
This device is about 20, 25 bucks. Okay. It's got a little valve on the bottom. So it allows you to have the water flow closed off so you can brew coffee in there full immersion. All the grinds are sitting in all of the water, and you can time it so that when you're ready, you take it off, put it on your carafe, drain the coffee out so you can get the timing just right on it. You get exactly the extraction time so you can get better tasting coffee.
And this right here is your scale.
Yep, this is a scale. So we're just gonna weigh the amount of coffee that we put into, so we can keep the same recipe every time. If I put 25 grams in here and it tastes really good, tomorrow when I go do that again, I know I can use this same grind size, the setting on my grinder, with 25 grams of coffee and the same amount of water, it's gonna taste exactly the same. Make a recipe, that's all we've done.
And then this is what I was smelling during the podcast.
Correct.
What is this again?
This is the Costa Rica Perla Negra. So it's a natural coffee, very, very fruity. Lots of fun, bright, punch you in the face flavors.
I can smell it.
Doesn't smell like coffee. You wouldn't, if I put that in front, you would think some sort of berry tea or something. So
berry's a good.
Very, almost like a mixed berry thing going on. It's not quite cherry, it's not quite strawberry, maybe some red currant, maybe some like obscure fruits, dried fruits that you're not used to smelling.
Like now that you say it.
Smells like berries for sure. So we tear out the scale. Once we get our coffee in there, we can dose our near 200 degree water.
So you want to put a precise amount of water as well, right?
Yep, absolutely. We're looking for a ratio of about 15-1. That really, if you 1 part dry coffee, 15 parts hot water.
Gotcha.
And that way you can get an extraction of coffee on the tail end of that is matched well for the American cup of coffee, palate, 15 or 16-1.
Gotcha.
So we'll just top that off. We'll save just a few grams of water to just kind of break that crust. On top right here, we have what's called a crust. You can see the gas bubbles forming. That's this fresh coffee releasing that CO2 that I was talking about earlier. You get a smell of this as it's brewing. Those CO2 bubbles start popping off.
Now it's almost a little more like coffee, right?
It changes a little bit, right? That berry is still there, but now you're starting to smell some of those roasty, developed flavors in there as well.
Wow.
Yeah. So we'll let that steep for just I didn't start a timer on this one. I'm pretty good with brewing these. We're shooting for about a 3.5 minute brew time on this. We could stretch that out a little more. It could go out to 4 minutes, but once you start getting into 5, 6 minutes for this little amount of coffee, you're gonna be starting to over extract. You want to get just the right amount of water to mix with that coffee over the right amount of time.
What happens when you over extract?
When you over extract, you get too much of those coffee solids. You break down too many of those flavonoids, those natural oils and flavors in the ground coffee. Will absorb into the water, and you'll get too much of a concentration of that, which will be really harsh on the tongue and very heavy. We want just enough to get those flavors, but not so much that they're overpowering. So we just pick this up and set it down on our carafe, and it starts to drain out of the bottom.
Interesting. So this is for sale? You guys have?
Yeah, we have the Perla Negra on the website for sale, along with a dozen other blends and single origins. A couple of other naturals like this one. We have an Ethiopia natural as well as a Colombia natural.
Which natural just means how it's extracted, right?
How it's dried.
How it's dried.
How the green coffee is dried. Natural is with the cherry intact. Wash is rinsing that away.
Gotcha. Okay.
So this might have gone a little bit fast, but I think it's going to work well for us to get a sample of it here.
It's got a little fast. What do you mean?
The water went through a little bit quicker, so I could have let it sit for a little longer before I, steeped it out of there. But it's brewing nicely, draining through, not holding up, not going too long. Which
so
a lot
you
of
can
times
tell
is the
that
problem.
it drained fast.
Yeah, just just because I've been doing coffee a lot of time. A lot of times when I'm making it for myself, I don't even use the scale, right? I don't even weigh it out. I just throw some coffee in there, throw some water in there, we're good to go. So you kind of get a sense for it. Would you grab me just a couple of cups right there, and you and I can share this here?
Yep.
We'll take the scale away. We don't need it any longer.
So it's very light, or it looks very light, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's a lighter roast.
Okay.
It's not a super, super rich concentration.
Okay.
But I want to put just enough so we can get a taste of this. Small amount in there.
Okay.
Give it a second. Swirl it around in that cup. Let the cup absorb some of the heat because you don't want it too hot.
Yeah.
Coffee actually sweetens as it cools.
Really?
Yeah, so as that coffee comes from 180, 160, 140 degrees is about perfect drinking temperature. That's 140, you're not going to burn your tongue, but it's still hot enough that you get that warm sensation, 40 degrees over body temperature kind of thing. Give it a smell. You smell some of that kind of fruity.
You do a little bit. Do you put creamer in your sugar?
I don't.
I
don't.
Just straight, huh?
Just try it. This is, I would call it tea-like.
It is tea-like.
But it's light, it's sweet. There's a natural sweetness there. That berry comes through in the middle of the palate as you're drinking it.
It tastes more like tea than coffee.
Then if you exhale through the nose as you swallow, you get those.
Exhale through the nose? Okay.
Yeah, so you taste with your nose and and you get more of that fruit, maybe a little bit of that cocoa nib, chocolate on the back end, but it's not heavy on the tongue, but it coats all the way over. You get that flavor all the way across the mouth.
Very light. I can definitely sense the berry, and it's very light. Actually, the tea thing is a very good explanation.
Yeah.
I like this one.
It's crazy. And like I said, that's not something that I'm going to drink every day, but imagine an everyday coffee with a little bit of this on the back end of it. It really sweetens it up and gives, you're no longer in...
Honestly, I was there's no bitterness at all to this thing.
None whatsoever. A good cup of coffee shouldn't, unless you're intentionally roasting to the point where you want to get some round roasty flavors into it.
I'm actually pleasantly surprised about this. I was not expecting it to taste like that. I'll be honest.
It's a crazy fun coffee. And if you get that brew ratio right, that 15 or 16 to 1, and that time frame right, your 2.5, 3 minute extraction time on a small portion like this, you can get really, really awesome fun flavors that aren't overpowering, and you can really wow your guests with it.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm impressed. I was already impressed with the latte here with the little chocolate, but this Costa Rican natural, very impressed. I like it. Very, very good. You guys need to try it.
We'll save a sip for the cameraman.
There we go. So, but you guys go online, support these guys, magnoliacoffeeco.com, and follow other channels. And so, anyway, we'll enjoy some more coffee. We'll see you guys on the next episode.